Hello everyone, this is Cookies, and I've got my current turn. So I've spent a tremendous amount of time recording today, all the way from, I think, turn 31, and I had a turn roll while I was recording, so I thought I would come back to go over this turn. It's going to be a one-turn episode, so maybe a little bit shorter, especially since we're at peace, but just kind of going through my thoughts and maybe what we're looking at. So we've got some... Oh, so we did some site searching. We found a statue of the Setting God. Now this is an enchantment bonus, which lines up perfectly with our Lichcraft phase that I'm about to go over. So that is already looking pretty interesting. Didn't find any other sites. There were a few battles this turn. So we've got Shinyama with a Bakemono Sork, probably doing some earth buffs. Yeah, Soldiers of Steel brings their protection up to 20. Oh, 3 casts. 4 casts. He is very determined to get them all. Alright. And we've got some barbarians coming in. Now, shockingly, he's only just now fatigued himself out, but they've managed to rout the barbarians, so they take no casualties. In Lupia, he goes ahead and pings inside this fort, finds a growing number of things as Abyssia started summoning fire snakes. Tried to click on one and misclicked. And then, so it looks like a few things burned to death, but not a huge loss. It's a small positioning error, which you're going to find from people that are on their way out of the game. In Lyratos, we've got the Nidavellir Grand Army storming this fort. There is a communion inside. And this Fire 1 Death 2 mage who can make the fire boosters. Pretty cool. Now, in this army is a lot of Zots and a lot of Griffins. Pretty cool. So these are flyers that help protect this army from too much gym baiting. It's enough flyers to kill small amounts of troops really quickly. He's also got a lot of archers to try and pick at stuff like that. Has a line of these Nidalvas, along with a giant line. So he's got an ever-growing number of swordsmen, and he's also got a line of his Nidbithets out in front to lead the charge, and then the other swordsmen can fill in. All right, and we've got a large number of mages here, including a large number of these Adepts of the Iron Order. So we'll go ahead and go through them. So we've got 3, 6, 7, 8 Adepts. This is a tremendous amount of recruitment. This is 16 turns of fort recruitment. So he's got a lot of gems on these guys. In addition, he's brought a lot of Bear Clan. The Bear Clan are the Nature 2, Earth 1 mages. So he's turned some of them into Earth mages, some of them into Nature mages. And one of the Nature mages he's slotting into the Communion. Got to be a little careful with this because it's off path for the Communion. And then we've got a bunch of other guys probably doing point buffing. A whole bunch of Camazots, maybe doing some Skelly spam. And then we've got this Crow Clan mage with a bunch of temporary air gems and some astral gems. Probably... and an amulet of resilience, so probably about to do some really big spells. Maybe like Army of Mist and anti-magic, stuff like that. A couple other Crow Clan Sethbrenders, they're all twice born. because they're pretty precious to Nidavellir. They're his cap-only mages. He's got a number of lizard shaman who will be slotting into the communion. This one's got a temp gem for nature, and then 2 astral boosters and a nature booster. So he's going to be doing a lot of big casting on the communion as well. And the nature casting might be on path for a number of these guys, if it's the lizard shamans that are filling in for the communion. And then maybe these guys are just going to do their own casting, maybe power the spheres and then their own stuff. On Scalaria's side, we have a few cultists with amulets of the dead. You can tell he feels pretty dead because he hasn't moved these off to other cultists in a different fort. So we're getting minimal effort now from Scalaria, and then we've got a few water mages. So I have a feeling that Scalaria is just going to do Skelly spam. What I'm curious about is what Nidavengir's army is doing. And I think we saw a couple of mages get yoinked here. Alright. So we've got, what's that? Winter Ward? Oh, so they've got more cold resist. Okay. And then we've got some Rage of the Cornered Rat going out on the flyers. He's also got a few of these Kithronic Lions he's stolen. They are indeed doing Power of the Spheres. Let's go ahead and dive in, do a little bit more of a deep dive, since we're only doing one turn. Yeah, so they're all doing Power of the Spheres, operating without a communion. Strong enough mages to do that. This guy's doing Ravenous Swarm. We've got Pack Ferocity, which is pretty cool. This guy's got hit in the arm by a sling, but he's doing Summon Earth Power, probably about to do some Earth buffs. Now that he's Earth 3. And then, what are these guys doing? Animate Dead? Yeah, so they're just providing some backline chaff. And the Crow Clan are doing some blessings, along with some Power of the Spheres. Oh, this one's dead. Okay. Let's see. So it's a Communion Master, 12 slaves, so it does have some extras. I believe, just like last turn. Alright, and then what are these guys doing? Yeah, all Winter Ward. Okay, so I guess he's maybe concerned about a big fatigue play from Scalaria. Maybe Scalaria is not feeling motivated enough to script up stuff like that. Yeah, he's got Soul Slay and some other stuff going on. Still has 4 comm slaves, but yeah, stuff's dying real quick back here. So we're starting to see some big evocations come out. He's got Howl. Now Howl in Dominion 6 only comes on the outside of the fort. No longer shows up on the inside of the fort. We still have some Touch of Madness, Group Regen, Gift of Giant Strength. So mages are still sort of casting away. We can probably dive in towards the end of the battle. Gifts from Heaven, not good. that is a downside to bringing a bunch of Gifts from Heaven path casters to a big fight, as they will offcast that stuff. All right. So let's take a look. So one of these guys died, got hit in the head by a sling for 25 points of damage. So I think a lot of these guys, they probably want to start off doing personal iron skin. And then maybe do Power of the Sphere, summon Earth Power, and then get into it. So one gets killed. We have some Enslaved Minds coming out. Just kind of relying on the off-path casting. Some Gifts from Heaven. Enslaved Mind. Okay. What did this guy do? Pack Ferocity, Strength of Gaia. Alright. This one's doing Breath of the Dragon, Ravenous Swarm. What is this guy's script? Power of the Sphere is Hell. Okay. And we've got Spell Word and some Enslaved Mind. And jumped on all these mages and killed them. Falling Frost. Yeah. Okay. So aside from some friendly fire from Gifts from Heaven, and probably needing to do some turn 1 buffs, he's done pretty well here. So just some minor script fixes to put in. It does cost him an Adept, a Camazot, one of his Crow Clan. 16 of the Griffins die. Their flyers love dying, but they really did their value. They killed that Communion from Scaleria very quickly. And lost a few of the Zots and a few of the Nidalvort ladies. So his swordsman did pretty well, didn't really lose too many, only lost 3 Nidbethed. This army is still in pretty good fighting shape. And then we've got a fight at Uric Balcor, I guess. So Calum storming this fort. Nothing inside. He's bringing his Pretender, though, so he should be good. Bringing it in a Skelly Spam capacity. Now, you can make flyers walk like this by putting them in a line, and I think sometimes it takes adding a unit that doesn't fly to the line, but I've also seen the line just not fly sometimes. Maybe it's the difference between hold and attack and attack. I think there was something there. But they're going to go ahead and take care of the Triarius in the gate. And then the Pretender is going to go ahead and work on the Slingers. So he's got a route. And Calum has retaken their ice fort. Righting old wrongs. Okay, cost them 3 Iceclad. We lose some gold. We gain a bunch of gold, so we're going to go on a big recruiting spree this turn. You best believe. We get hit by a large group of knights, and we get some earth gems. Now we know the knights won because of the color of the flag. It's a little bit of a giveaway. We got some militia. We got Modic, the knight commander, or Modich. Depends on how European, how far east in Europe you want to go. And then we've got Meligal, also a knight commander, and a large block of knights. Now we do have a fair number of mannequins here that we're patrolling, but it's just not quite enough for this many knights. They also kind of hit awkwardly. So the knights end up clearing out our mannequins here. Very sad. We do get patrolled out here too, so we lose one of our black harpies. And we pick the two twice-born dryad hags that we did that were diseased now live again as carrion ladies, and the skull staffs did indeed go back into our lab. So we can take a look at them. So here's one, and she can reanimate, which is pretty cool. And where's the other one? Oh, I think she was down here. So yeah, so Nora is down here and also doing some reanimation, which is neat. I am considering sending Fennel home to my sort of like reanimation center. But maybe a trickle and end is nice. It can help rejuvenate some of these parties. Although, after reorganizing it, they're reasonably healthy. We've rescripted some of the mages, so we've included stuff like Army Region, Serpent's Blessing, Army of Giants. So when the army's ready to go again, we can just load it up with gems and it should be good to go. And this lady can probably do rain. I think we need a new rain caster. Because we don't need, because of Serpent's Blessing, as long as that goes up, we shouldn't need Poison Ward. All right. And then the other thing that we're kind of doing this turn is we've collected a tremendous amount of chaff here. We've got 2,100 unit, no, we've got almost 2,200 units here this turn. We're moving out a ton of stuff, and I think we're going to have 2,100 units here next turn. So we're trying to get new raiding parties out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new raiding parties heading out. Pretty soon, I anticipate we will be able to patrol all of our forts, which will be really nice for preventing scouting. And then we can just keep kind of spilling out more raiding groups. I don't want this to be too much of a friendly flames from the sky target. So I do want to keep stuff moving in and keep stuff moving back out again. Is kind of our goal here. We are forging a crystal coin there. So, or I guess a coin of meteoritic iron is the new name. We're also picking up a Gossamer Veil. So we're getting the Astral and Glamour boosters and a Skull of Fire, which is the Death booster, and a Dwarven Hammer. So the goal with Astral is we want to break into golems. We don't have great astral income, but we need golems. We need to be able to block Mind Hunt. We need to be able to cast anti-magic. We just have a lot of needs on the astral front. Some of this death income might get turned into specters. And that's, I believe specters still get an astral random. Let me double check. Yeah, so they still have 2 1 in 4 chances at an astral random. So that, and they're stealthy. So we can also use them to try and help block Mind Hunt. So we might get some of them. So yeah, trying to increase our astral income. So we're doing a couple more arcane probings, trying to get astral, because you can search astral up to astral 6. So astral 7 probably finds a majority of the gems, but sometimes you get really good sights searching higher. So we're going to go ahead and try 2 probings. And then we're going to save up for a golem, because we should have the paths. Once we have the coin of meteoritic iron, this guy can get a golem. And from there, we can start building out doom stacks once we can maybe start getting a golem every few turns. So that can support bigger armies, and then maybe spectral mages can support smaller armies to try and block Mind Hunt. I'm not aware of anyone in this game having healers, like true healing, left in the game. So I think if we block a little bit of it, we can definitely make it too dangerous. Goodness, having some trouble talking after talking all day. And then, so we've got that going for us. And then also, we're doing some site searching. But the other big decision that we were making is, so we got Conjuration this turn. So the choice that we have to think about is, do we want a Queen of Air? Or do we want to empower another Panic in Air so that we can have 2 Winds of Death casters? Whew. And that's a tough question, because 2 Winds of Death casters is twice as good as 1. But a Queen of Air opens up a new type of trap. Unfortunately, our air income is horrendous. So Queen of Air could also potentially help us site search air, which would be great. It does let us think about Wrathful Skies traps. Army of Mist on an army would be really good without having to risk our pretenders. So I do think I want to risk it. The other thing is, I know Machaka has more research than me, but I don't know what he researched. So there is some chance that he's already got 3 Queens of Air. Let me see. Because I believe his Pretender has a bunch of air and a bunch of nature. So the question is, would he have wanted to cast Well of Misery himself? And I think it would be difficult for him. Could random into a D3 and try to twice born it. So it is a possibility that we are competing. And if I miss out on a Queen of Air and I lose 50 air gems, I'm going to be quite sad. At that point, then, I think I resign myself to having 1 Winds of Death caster and maybe doing a lot more site searching to try and get more air income. That's a much longer term plan. The other thing I can do is I can have my Earth Goofball in here. He can scry Machaka's capital, and maybe we can spot the Pretender, and maybe if he's got a Queen of Air there. So that is something that we could do. Based on the message from a couple of turns ago, the other thing I'm wondering is if he's already made it to Construction 9, and maybe he's taking the best artifacts. But I think Lichcraft and Awakened Forest are really strong for us. I think we'll be a complete pain to invade if we get those 2. So I have swapped up the research order a bit. We're going to prioritize Lichcraft, because by the time we get there in 3 turns or so, I'm going to have a bunch of new Panic Apostates that I'm going to want to start turning into Liches. And we'll have a better idea on if Well of Misery is going to get dispelled. And then Awaken Forest will also come online. That's more like a 2 to 3 turn thing, I'm thinking. So with Awakened Forest, I can I get that really nice defensive presence. I think we've got a few turns where we can be greedy. I just don't want to be so greedy that I have a nap end message and I'm not able to have both of these ready to go. So I'm not willing to run down construction just yet. I'm thinking after construction 9 we can pick up Ghost Riders. And then the other piece of my endgame plan that I'm thinking about, there's a few different pieces that work well with Enchanted Forests. There's Dreams of the Awakening God, a very strong Dominion spell as well. I think I would struggle to cast that. I would also struggle to cast Utter Dark. But if I somehow had enough death income to maybe do a couple of empowers, or if I got certain artifacts, that's why I'm placing it this far back, like Book of the Dead, or I don't know, just some of the different death boosters. I think there's a scepter that does +2. If I somehow got up to Utter Dark, and then I did a really big Enchanted Forest and Utter Dark cast, both at the same time, that could be my win condition, where I just kind of attack everyone around me. And I could potentially have that in my back pocket. I do have to be scared of Machaka putting up Enchanted Forests. And I do need to be prepared to try and overcast that, which is difficult. Because if he gets like a Ring of Sorcery or the Artifact Nature Book and a Moonvine Bracelet, and he puts that on his Pretender, he can cast for up to 900 Nature Gems. And he's had Mother Oak for a long time, and he's made a lot of the spider summons. But I'm not sure that he's made so many that it's consumed his whole nature income. So I am concerned that he's saving for a really big global like that. But I'm hopeful that I could potentially overcast him, because I do have 26 nature income myself. And I'm going to be saving up for this Enchanted Forest play. So the next time if I get coalitioned, I think that's when I'll try to spring that. Now, the core of this, an Enchanted Forest might certainly come before Ghost Riders, depending on how my nature income's looking, but I'm thinking right now I'll have time. One of the things I did do, I was chatting a little bit with False God, and he suggested I should pick up a Tree Lord Staff rather than a Thistle Mace for that casting. So that would potentially give me +3 nature. And if I use like this guy, or maybe like an N4 Panic, which I think I have one up here. So if I rotated looking for owls back home, mostly because he's twice born, so I could potentially get 2 lives out of him. Then that gives me up to 700 nature that I could spend on an Enchanted Forest play, which is a tremendous amount, but the rating potential that you get and all the Dominion pressure that you get is really nice. So if we save up for that, I mean, it's going to take us a long time to get really high in nature, but I think that's what I want to start saving up for, is maybe doing a play like that. Because I do feel like we've got a lot of chaff, and we're in the part of the game where more chaff doesn't necessarily help more. But what I want is just really easy summonable chaff. So like Awakened Forest, Ghost Riders would both be excellent. Immortal Mages are excellent for kind of what I'm planning. So I'm thinking about setting up this in game. Now, if I did the math for all this correctly, this is, let's say a 9 is 3 turns of research, because it's like 7,500 research, so we're a little bit short, but I'm hoping we'll keep increasing our research per turn slowly. Although I'm going to start turning glamour into different like fairy queens and stuff like that for more mage diversity. But Lichcraft is maybe 3 to 4 turns, then 3 turns, so that's 7. And then this is maybe 5 turns, so 12 turns. Another 3 turns, so 15 turns. And then maybe 18 turns before we get to Enchanted Forest. And 18 turns at 26 gems a turn is about, assuming we probably spend a little bit, maybe we could come out of that with 400 to 450 nature gems. And if we can truly get into Enchanted Forest territory at that kind of casting level, and maybe we can keep saving for it. I'm not sure if we'll get the chance. I don't think we will, but that's a very strong cast. I would like to get more put into that, because that would definitely let me cook pretty hard. And it synergizes really well with Well of Misery staying up. So if Well of Misery stays up, and maybe we make back our death gems on that, which I think it'll take 6 or 7 turns to do that. But in the meantime, we're still getting 40 a turn. We have a pretty good death income all on our own. So we're saving up our death income for doing all this lich stuff. So, if we roll into next turn with about 95 gems, and then, even if we get just a few turns of Lichcraft, we're going to be looking at, especially if they're 25 per, I mean, this is for a human mage. Every size point apart, adjust the price by 5 death gems. So I think for a panic, they are size 4. So we're looking at 30 death gems per lich. So 3 liches will be about 90 death gems. So we'll very quickly go through this death gem stockpile. But picking up a lich per turn seems extremely strong, and it would also save us a lot of upkeep. And we'd really only need to be really careful with liches against Knit of Anger, at least from what I've seen so far. So, yeah, seems like it would be really good. We'd also have to watch out for Mind Hunt. But yeah, the more the merrier. Working on our magic diversity, working on our big battlefield spells that can make us extremely difficult even for our coalition to invade, and working on saving our gem incomes for the kind of globals that we can hope to win with. We do have to be on the lookout for whatever Machaka's planning. They're large and getting larger, and they're ahead of us in research. But I think we can do reasonably well. We're starting to push our Dominion more. So if we get our candles into more of this area, we're less susceptible to something like Purgatory. And according to our treaty, so to speak, we do have peace until turn 60. So we have 8 more turns of peace, theoretically. So, and he's not supposed to be dispelling my globals, just like I haven't been overcasting his. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, as long as we can keep cranking in some death income, I think Lichcraft makes a lot of sense. We could wait to start the Lichcraft research, at least, until we're a few more turns in which case we'd want to swap Awakened Forest for Lichcraft. So then, let me see. I think it's in. No, we've already got Awakened Forest queued up, so then we need Lichcraft. And then we're looking at construction 8 and 9. So we're thinking of something like this, maybe. This might give me a better idea of if Well of Misery is going to stay up for a few turns. And then we can roll into Lichcraft if needed. So this might be the safer play. And then we still have a really powerful magic and a bunch of new panics because of that gold event. So I guess we can talk about recruitment really quick. So we're getting panic, 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 panic. Probably a new Hydromancer next turn. But yeah, a lot of new panic apostates. Ideally enough to defend this area, maybe support a second large army is a bit of the goal there. We need a lot of panics to support our big armies. So, but the plan is not to twice spawn these panics. So maybe we can roll out a couple of these guys, but we've got the panics are named if they're twice spawned. So maybe we can avoid any accidentals. But all these new panics should... Well, I guess they're going to congregate in here because we get the enchantment bonus. So actually, it would normally be 30 death gems, but we're going to get 6 off. So it's actually only going to cost 24 to lichify our panic apostates, which is going to be fantastic. Very much looking forward to that. So hopefully we can at least get some payoff. If we can break even on Well of Misery, that would be great. Also, the longer Well of Misery stays up, the more likely we are to have a lot of our neighbors gain some new forests. So for instance, Shinyama's sporting growth 4. Kalem's got growth 3, but some growth 4. Yeah, growth 4. Naba's got like growth 5 here. Nidavellir is growth 5, it looks like. Machaka. Do I have some Machaka Dominion somewhere? Looks like they might be growth 4. If we can get some provinces around the world turning into forests, the more forests the merrier for our eventual enchanted forest play. Machaka might be thinking the same thing because they were talking about splitting Well of Misery with us. And maybe that's why they wanted to buy out of Mother Oak so that they could compete for enchanted forests with us. So I have a feeling, and I'm a little bit worried that that's what we've got to worry about for an end game with Machaka, rather than Gift of Nature's Bounty. I'm hoping it's Gift of Nature's Bounty, because I think with Enchanted Forest, if he puts that up, I can put up Enchanted Forest, and maybe I can overwhelm the Gift of Nature's Bounty. At least the output from that, with insane amounts of rating pressure really early before he can fully take advantage. But we'll have to see. All right, so I think that's it for this turn. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Sorry, this has been kind of a long turn. But the potential to Throne Rush. I think a lot of players would Throne Rush in my current position. There's an unforted throne here. There's a weak fort here. That would be pretty easy to siege. It's fairly undefended. There is an army here that you'd have to kill. There's this province is unforted, and there's a slightly weaker ice castle here at 600. And if I took all four of these thrones and claimed them, and claimed this throne, then I would win the game. That sounds phenomenally boring to me. So I do like winning, but I think of winning as a secondary concern to having a fun game. And I don't always tie winning and fun together. So I want to get further into the late game on this nation. I've told Machaka I'm not planning to Throne Rush. I'm not intending to Throne Rush. I guess there's even another unforted throne over here, but that would be impossible to get to. Kind of. I mean, it's on the other side of even this throne. But yeah, it's just not something that I really want to do. Somebody else might try it. But we've got a pretty even spread right now. Caleb's got 2, Shinyama's got 2, Naba's got 1, Machaka's got 2, Ninavangar's got 1. Gates and this is the Gates one. So Shinyama or Naba should probably get that one. So that could put Shinyama at 3 or Naba at 2. So as long as I don't Throne Rush here, and I do think I could put on a tremendous amount of pressure to do that. Now, Machaka would try to intervene, but I mean, even like a turn or two ago, there weren't as many dieback mono here. I probably could have broken Nap and swarmed all over this. And that's just not something I really want to do. So if I can, I want to try and fully experience late game Asphodel. Play around with Awakened Forest, play around with Lichcraft, maybe the late construction stuff, and then set up for an Enchanted Forest play. I might lose the game because of that, just like I think piecing out with Nidavellir and Machaka might have lost the game for me earlier. Because I'm pretty sure I could have killed the Spider Banefire army with one of my armies, especially with unless he brought a bunch more mage support, which he does have a lot of research, but I do think I could have killed it or seriously bloodied it once my unholy weapons woke up. And they didn't necessarily know about unholy weapons unless they saw like a couple of my indie fights, like maybe down here in Vath when I got attacked by indies. So yeah, that's kind of my thinking right now. Shinyama's probably feeling kind of pinned in a bit, but I'm gonna see how long I can get away with scaling to see what kind of late game shenanigans I can get up to. Because if I could somehow pull off like a 700 gem cast of Enchanted Forests and maybe something else, I don't know, like Dreams of the Awakening God or like a big Utter Dark cast, I think at that point it would make the game hell for everyone else, but then I've fully experienced Asphodel gameplay. So, and that would kind of achieve my goal. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Kind of looking to see how Nidavellir and Caleb do in the Scalaria region. Nidavellir getting stronger and Caleb getting stronger, I don't think necessarily hurts me. But, I mean, we'll find out. They might try to coalition me. Scalaria, at this point, maybe I should start talking to them like an ally. Because the longer they live, the more annoying they are. So maybe I should reach out to them see if they need anything, or if they feel like it's hopeless. And then we've got Machaka up here, who's probably the sneaky position one. I'm not sure if too many other players really consider them position one, but we're gonna go ahead and proceed and see what we can do with this game. So hope you guys enjoy the ride. We'll see how we do. And I will see you guys in the next turn, in turn 53. Have a good one. Bye.